Well, protests against the war in Gaza have been taking center stage at college campuses across the U.S.
The protests at today's campus-wide commencement got loud, with speakers shouting over the chanting.
And you're making common cause with Hamas. I am canceling your visa, and I'm sending you home where you belong.
Campus protests against Israel's war in Gaza are continuing to grow across the U.S.
Free Palestine! Free Palestine! Free Palestine! Free Palestine!
Republican candidates on Hamas. Republican presidential candidates Ron DeSantis and Tim Scott made remarks regarding their stances on foreign nationals supporting Hamas and anti-Semitism on university campuses, particularly in the context of the ongoing conflict between Israel and Hamas. Ron DeSantis, the governor of Florida, asserted that he would revoke the student visas of foreign nationals in the U.S. who express support for Hamas, the militant group that governs the Gaza Strip and is considered a terrorist organization by the U.S. and other countries. DeSantis made these comments during a campaign event in Iowa, where he emphasized his intention to remove foreign students from the country if they were found to be supporting Hamas, particularly in the wake of Hamas's recent attacks on Israel. He stated that some of these students engaging in demonstrations supporting Hamas were foreigners, implying that their support for the militant group could lead to consequences for their immigration status. Additionally, DeSantis pledged to take action if elected president in 2024, stating that he would cancel the visas of such individuals and send them back to their home countries.
We also looked and saw, and it was really appalling what's happened in so many American universities. You had college students going out and demonstrating in favor of Hamas. The rise of these chapters called Students for Justice in Palestine. And you're making common cause with Hamas. I am canceling your visa, and I'm sending you home where you belong.
This statement reflects his commitment to cracking down on foreign nationals deemed to be supportive of terrorist organizations, while emphasizing his stance on national security and aligning with Israel amid its conflict with Hamas. Tim Scott, a Republican senator from South Carolina, also addressed the issue of anti-Semitism on university campuses during the same event in Iowa. He proposed withholding Pell Grants, which are federal funds provided to students for higher education expenses, from universities that fail to address or eliminate anti-Semitism within their academic communities. Scott's statement suggests his dedication to combating discrimination and bigotry on college campuses and his intention to hold institutions accountable for fostering environments free from hatred and prejudice. Both DeSantis and Scott reiterated their support for Israel amid the ongoing conflict with Hamas, emphasizing their alignment with the Jewish state and condemning terrorism. Their remarks reflect broader sentiments within the Republican Party regarding national security, foreign policy, and support for Israel, while also addressing concerns about anti-Semitism within educational institutions. DeSantis' stance on Hamas. Since October 7, when Israeli forces retaliated against Hamas's offensive against the country, over 5,700 people have deceased in Israel and Gaza combined. In addition to injuring a great number of people, Hamas has kidnapped and held numerous more captive, torturing and even slaying them. He has been outspoken in his denunciation of Hamas's unexpected attack on Israel, and he has taken action to help Floridians, who are currently stuck in Israel, find their way home. About 300 Floridians arrived in the Sunshine State on planes from Israel after the governor's executive order authorized logistics, rescue, and evacuation operations through Florida's Division of Emergency Management, the governor announced last week. The flights were successfully completed thanks to cooperation with the nonprofit organization Project Dynamo, which specializes in search and rescue operations. It is predicted that further evacuation flights will be performed to Florida. The governor's office reports that the Florida Division of Emergency Management also sent cargo planes to Israel with a range of goods, such as toys for kids, clothing, hygiene products, and medical supplies. Harvard University student organizations have declared that Israel is entirely responsible for attacks on Gaza. He has been outspoken in his denunciation of Hamas's unexpected attack on Israel, and he has taken action to help Floridians who are currently stuck in Israel find their way home. He has been outspoken in his denunciation of Hamas's unexpected attack on Israel, and he has taken action to help Floridians who are currently stuck in Israel find their way home. This month, DeSantis labeled the student support for Hamas a total disgrace, following at least dozens of student organizations at major U.S. academic institutions, including Harvard University, endorsing the organization's attacks on Israel through public remarks and demonstrations. This was in reaction to the fact that a large number of institutions themselves denounced the terrorist activities that Hamas was carrying out.
Well, protests against the war in Gaza have been taking center stage at college campuses across the U.S.
Pro-Palestinian protests are spreading at college campuses in the United States and around the globe.
Protesters really warning them that any kind of encampments or disruption of graduations will not be happening here. It was a
Commandeer property, when you try to set up encampments, you are not going to be allowed to do that in this state.
Furthermore, a number of Republican lawmakers have pushed for the cancellation of visas for foreign nationals who back Hamas and the repatriation of those people back to their home countries. Following the terrorist attack on Israel, Florida Republican Senator Marco Rubio declared that the Biden administration should cancel the visas of any foreign nationals who assist or defend Hamas. In a similar vein, Republican Senator from Arkansas Tom Cotton requested the Department of Homeland Security to deport foreign individuals who have shown support for Hamas, especially those who are on student visas. Foreign nationals who back Hamas should be deported, according to Senator Cotton, who claims they have no place in the U.S. Furthermore, DeSantis has declared that he opposes accepting Gazan migrants who are trying to escape the crime taking place in the area. DeSantis stated earlier this month at a political gathering that he did not know what President Biden was going to do, but he emphasized that people from Gaza could not be accepted into the country as refugees. He went on, "I am not going to do that," saying more. They may not all be Hamas members, but it is obvious from their behavior that they are all anti-Semitic. Each and every one of them opposes Israel's right to exist. Other Republicans, such as Scott, have expressed their displeasure with the Biden administration's response to the strikes that Hamas has carried out against Israel. At a previous address in Washington, D.C., the South Carolina senator claimed that the president had blood on his hands. Addressing the controversy. In the wake of the October 7 attacks that rocked Israel and Gaza, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis has taken a firm stance against foreign college students who express support for the militant organization Hamas. His statements have ignited a debate about free speech, academic freedom, and the responsibilities of international students studying in the U.S. The attacks, which resulted in the demises of hundreds of Israelis and thousands of casualties in both Israel and Gaza, have heightened tensions in the region. In response, some Americans attending institutions of higher learning have voiced support for Hamas, leading to repercussions for their academic and professional lives.
The protests at today's campus-wide commencement got loud, with speakers shouting over the chanting.
DeSantis touting funding that he says will make our schools safer. This comes amid the sound of protesters in the background.
We don't do that here in the state of Florida. And so they did have an encampment.
In Florida, Governor Ron DeSantis is ordering state universities to ban a pro-Palestinian student group from protesting.
To know about issues about our families and about the massacres that they are subjected to.
DeSantis made his position clear during an appearance on the Megyn Kelly Show. He expressed concern about the growing support for Hamas among students at American universities, comparing it to a disturbing trend that he believes wouldn't have occurred in past decades. He questioned the values being instilled in students and the toxic culture prevailing in universities today. The governor's proposal is straightforward. Foreign college students on visas who openly celebrate Hamas should have their visas revoked and be sent back to their home countries. He argues that it is essential to uphold American decency and values, questioning why the country should welcome individuals who are openly hostile to these principles. DeSantis' stand has ignited controversy, raising questions about the boundaries of free speech and the rights of international students. Critics argue that his proposal could infringe upon academic freedom and discourage open dialogue and debate on college campuses. They warn against conflating criticism of Israeli government policies with support for terrorism, emphasizing the importance of distinguishing between legitimate political expression and incitement to crime. The issue is particularly contentious at prestigious universities like Harvard and NYU, where student groups have issued statements blaming Israel for the crime in Gaza. These statements have drawn criticism from alumni and other stakeholders who view them as one-sided and inflammatory. In response to the controversy, the Wexner Foundation recently ended its 34-year relationship with Harvard and its Kennedy School, citing the university's response to Hamas's attack as inadequate. This move underscores the broader implications of the debate, highlighting how statements and actions on college campuses can have far-reaching consequences.
Campus protests against Israel's war in Gaza are continuing to grow across the U.S.
Free Palestine! Free, free Palestine! Free, free, free Palestine! Free, free, free Palestine!
Is that good for you as an American? Is it good for? Of course it's not. That's part of an agenda.
The University of Southern California announced today it's canceling its main commencement ceremony next month.
DeSantis' remarks have also sparked discussions about the broader implications of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict and how it is perceived in the U.S. Some argue that equating Hamas with terrorist organizations like Al-Qaeda and ISIS oversimplifies a complex geopolitical issue and ignores the root causes of the conflict. They emphasize the need for nuanced discussions that acknowledge the legitimate grievances of both Israelis and Palestinians. In addition to addressing the immediate controversy, DeSantis' proposal raises broader questions about immigration policy and national security. By linking visa revocation to political beliefs, critics argue that the governor is setting a dangerous precedent that could be used to target other groups in the future. They warn against politicizing immigration decisions and call for a more balanced approach to addressing security concerns while upholding civil liberties. Furthermore, DeSantis' proposal has implications for U.S. foreign policy and diplomatic relations. By taking a hardline stance against Hamas sympathizers, he risks alienating allies and partners in the Middle East and beyond. Critics argue that such actions could undermine efforts to promote peace and stability in the region and damage America's reputation as a champion of democracy and human rights. At the same time, supporters of DeSantis applaud his willingness to take a strong stand against terrorism and extremism. They argue that foreign students who openly express support for Hamas should not be allowed to study in the U.S., citing concerns about national security and public safety. That's all for today, folks. See you another time.